I feel like that last beat was perfect for the anticipation that I built by not actually appearing after the countdown ended. My bad about that. I was evidently um, I gave memory the wrong information, but he logged on. He cussed me out and then logged on. I deserve it. I like the comment that Bufo made, which was just to remember that none of us on today's conversation are financial professionals. We're just producers who do this as a living, sharing our opinions and experiences. So, oh, hold on, something's wrong with my mic. Let's check. Hello, hello, hello. Oh, I was speaking into the wrong mic. What a day. I'm sorry, guys. Yeah, it sounded weird because I wasn't talking into it. Did you hear my disclaimer about this being a conversation among music professionals, not financial professionals? Shout out to Bufa for that. This month is Financial Literacy Month. Cloud9 let me know. So I was gonna just lie and say that we planned this all around Financial Literacy Month, but we actually didn't. It was just an amazing coincidence. So I have two colleagues on here, KloudNineMusic and Memory. I'm going to bring them in, and we are going to have a hard conversation that actually Memory started when I interviewed him one-on-one, and then Cloud9 suggested that we turn it into a sort of panel, like a roundtable discussion. And so I thought that was a great idea. So here we are. Please welcome my two guests, Memory and KloudNineMusic. Good afternoon.
What's up, y'all?
How's it going?
So going pretty good. Going pretty good.
Yeah, I think this is the first time the two of you have met virtually.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
How you doing?
I'm doing just fine.
Good.
Let's talk about other expenses too, because you have an expense coming up. Memory, I almost called you by the name I call you. With that gold plat coming, potentially platinum from Summer Walker, but those are expensive. Stuff like that adds up.
Yeah, man. Am I supposed to buy that?
You could talk to someone else. I don't know.
Maybe I'll start it like a
GoFundMe,
Patreon or something. Yeah, GoFundMe.
Yeah, everybody just buy. Matter of fact, okay. How about this? Everyone go buy Memory's newest sample pack.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
So he can buy so he can buy his plaque. Honestly, holy shit, my cat is not giving me an easy time today on this stream. She never does. Your latest pack, what is it called? It's the best pack I've heard all year.
Reminiscence. And yeah, you can find it on the Sample Lab, samplelab.com. And yeah, it's a little bit different than some of the other packs I've done. I know some of you have copped it already, but I went for that sort of chipmunk soul feel. So it's got like kind of the pitched up vocals and things like that. And I actually sang choruses for every single song or for every single sample. So like when you buy it, you actually get both with and without my vocals on it. And, a lot of times that adds to the sample. So I've heard a few cuts of it already, people that have chopped it up, and yeah, it sounded really good. So I'm really proud of that kit so far.
Yeah, Reminiscence on the Sample Lab. Everyone go buy it so that Memory can afford a plaque. People are wondering what plaques cost. Because honestly, I was under the impression that when you got a plaque, they just sent you one. Like some patron of the music business just one day sent you in the mail and you would just go outside and there it is. Nope. I learned the hard way. So I think the first plaque I paid for was around $250. Yeah, they're not if you want to get really nice ones and like if you go diamond or something and you really want to celebrate, then yeah, they can get up there, like the higher end. options are maybe 500-600 plus. So, if you get a placement, keep some money aside. This is what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about financial literacy. We're going to talk about mistakes, financial successes, and things that both of these producers can impart onto the folks watching this live, because as a lot of people have already stated in the live chat, it's that we're not holding on to our money, or we're not making the best decisions with our money, especially as producers who are starting to make money through our businesses. So let's just jump right into it. I think a lot of producers in general, musicians too, have trouble looking at music as a job. So, for example, I know a lot of musicians who despise schedules. A lot of creative people just hate schedules, and they hate their 9 to 5 because it feels like they're being forced to do something they don't want to do, and all they want to do is make music. Then they quit their 9 to 5, and here they are. It's time to make music, but they don't impose a schedule or a deadline onto themselves, and then they don't make much progress because they're resisting that feel of a job, because maybe they feel like, at least this is what a lot of them say,
Mhm.
if they make money off their music, it cheapens their art. If their music, if making music turns into a job
Mhm.
and they hate jobs, they start
Mhm.
hating music.
Mm.
Did either of you experience that, or are you currently experiencing that? And how do you deal with it?
Mm. Well, for me, I kind of see it as a business. One of the things I always tell other producers I talk to is that I'm not trying to be the best music producer in the world. I'm trying to be one of the best business-minded producers in the world. And I think a lot of times we some of us may or may not run from that. But when you really look at it, all the producers, to any of y'all watching this, all the producers y'all look up to, they have multiple businesses. They just do. Pharrell, Timbaland, Sony Digital, anybody that you look up to that's a producer, I promise you, they probably have another business and they run it as such. So, just think about that when you're dealing with, man, I might want to run away from this. The producers that you aspire to be are actually carrying themselves like a business, like DJ Payne one. Memory, they carrying themselves, me as well. We carrying ourselves as a business. So for me, it was just uh, personally, my schedule is as long as I do 8 hours a day. That's my thing, minimum 8 hours, just like any other job. But I go outside. My breaks are different. I can stretch. I can do whatever I want when it comes to eating. But you have to have that kind of self-discipline. And just like any habit, you have to keep practicing. You're not going to be good at it when you first start. Disciplining yourself to do 8 hours, but just discipline yourself to do at least 3 or 5. Because when you're not doing 8, I promise you somebody doing 10, somebody doing 12. So I just want to, get that started with that.
Yeah, I think I fall into that still, where I'm used to the 9 to 5 still. So what happens is a lot of times I put myself into a 9 to 5 position, just doing music. And sometimes that can be a little bit frustrating, and it can actually make it harder to be creative. Because I'm like, we're all being creative and we're all trying to make good music, regardless of if it's the best music you could ever make, or if it's something you want to just get out there because you need to keep constant content. But did you just ping me? Oh, yeah. Okay.
Did I just ping? Oh, my bad.
Never
Yeah,
mind.
I was
Yeah. Why are you
sorry.
interrupting me on another
I
thing?
was apologizing. We have a back channel convo going. I was apologizing
Oh,
for not correcting you when you said 3 p.m. because we're in the same time
Yeah.
zone. I'm so used to telling my guests 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I told him 3 p.m. and it's actually 2 because we're in the Midwest.
Anyway. Yeah. Okay. All right. Sorry. Yeah. So I kind of get in this you know position where I think like I have to have everything extremely structured. Like I have to sit down for 4 hours and I gotta write something, and then I can take a 15-minute break, and then I can move on to you know, another 2 hours and then my lunch. And when I do that, it just totally ruins my creative output. Like I can't work that way. My day has to be more free flowing. But like Cloud9 said, like as long as I put in 8 hours a day, something 8 to 10, anywhere in that range, I see progress. I see myself like getting my projects done on time and, you know, moving on to the next one. Some days though, like, you know, depending on what you have going on, if you have like outside life, if you have family things going on, those things can get in the way of what you're doing. And you might, you know, sometimes you'll struggle to get something done, and you might have like a 4 hour day where it's like you could only do 4 hours, where you could really sit there and get into your groove of things. But then you know, you end up making up for it with like a 16-hour day, or you know, or longer, just, you know, until you're completely fried and you just keep going. But what's nice about like not working for somebody else, a corporation, is that you're not on their schedule. You can really, you know, do this yourself. You can decide like, I'm tired now, I want to rest, you know. Like creatively, I use dreams in order to make some of my music. So sometimes I need to sleep in order to like get that next idea out. And you know, like that it's inspiration for me. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of ways to look at it.
So what advice can you give a producer who's kind of struggling with just the mentality of investing full-time energy and full-time attention into making music? I feel like that's a huge hurdle. Just even because music is this fun thing that we do to escape our jobs. That not all of us, but I'd say the majority of us transitioning from a 9 to 5 to maybe either quitting our jobs or going half-time or part-time or whatever to try to pursue music more, we end up looking at music as an escape from that. So suddenly now we have to turn music into what we were escaping. What advice do you give people who are struggling with that transition?
I think for me is maybe sometimes changing the perception of what that is. Like a lot of my friends, sometimes they'll be like, "Man, you really like working on music a lot," and I'm like, "Yeah, because it's something I love to do." For me, this was a release. I was fortunate to have a full-time job that I really liked at one point. And for me, it was me getting into the habit of, if I'm working an 8-hour job, when I come home at night, I still gotta focus on what my goal is. And my goal is to become a full-time music producer. And there was 3 points in my life I could have went full-time, but I just kept at this other job. But I think one of the things is, don't think of it as a business. Think of it as a business, but also think about it as doing something that you love, right? Because that's what it is. You're doing music as an escape because you love it. But now you're in a situation where you're doing what you love a lot more. So for me, that's what I thought about. And I just think it's about, like, just having that type of mind and that type of mentality. Because for me, that was my goal. And the one of the things that I always do is to make sure I don't go backwards. I always think about, unfortunately, I think about some of the negative and positive, but I always think about what I don't want to go back to, all the way from what I went through growing up to get to this point, all the way until the situation with the previous job I had. And like, I just didn't want to go back to feeling like that. And when that hits you, you just want to keep going forward. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to think about going backwards with all that stuff. So for me, that's kind of like some of the things that I did to kind of shift my mind into focus, as far as like changing my mind into getting what I need to get done with this.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I think nothing tightens my wallet and heightens my senses more than the fear of going back to a 9 to 5. So, I mean, it's like just knowing like where I came from and what I'm like to expect, because the last few jobs that I had, they were just like, oh man, here I am again. I'm doing this shit again. I want to get the hell out of here. Like, I can't respect these people that are working here, the ones that are above my head. Like, I don't want anything to do with them, like, and I literally like just, I had to convince myself just to stay there. Like, yeah, you know, this is a good opportunity. I can learn something here. And it's like, it's nothing I want to even deal with, you know, like they're just, you know, everything's a job except for what I want to do. And that's music, you know? So, yeah, it's my advice. I think like when I was making the transition had a lot to do with accountability, and it had to do with what the people I was working with were doing because I mean, a lot of you know my history, but I obviously work with Pain a lot and work with Dream Life and just these two guys, they're, you know, they already had their work schedule set up. They knew how to set deadlines and you know, focus on their music 100%. And so by taking on projects from them, it made me able to kind of do that too as a sort of a starting position. You know, like I get done with my job and it's like, yeah, I do feel tired and everything, but I've got people waiting on me to like do sessions. I've got to get this work done for them. So, and I'm that kind of person too that always works through other people. It's like I love teamwork. I love working with other individuals. I'm not the most independent person. I'd say I'm actually more codependent, but I'm practicing becoming more independent, and I'm on a journey to get there at some point. But honestly, like other people around you that have the work ethic that are already a step up, if you can work with them or work to help them achieve their goals, you're kind of making you know, a sub goal of your own. And then after a while, once you know you're not working with them anymore, you can kind of just apply that to yourself. You know, take that same sort of desire to get something done when you're like at your absolute tiredest point, you know, or taxed point, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's
Yeah.
hard to be a business owner, period, but especially someone in the creative field like a beat maker, music producer, if the only people you're interacting with are the people who all have traditional jobs,
Yeah.
and you can't it's hard to communicate what you're going through with them, and then it feels pretty lonely at times. So surrounding yourself with like-minded people is I think
It,
key, just period. Like, you know, if you're hanging out with people, you want to be stop drinking, become sober, and you're hanging out with people who are at the bar every night. What's going to happen? They're going to pull you back.
but it's like the same thing on what you said. Is like for me personally, the BeatStars community as a whole was very helpful with what you just said about surrounding yourself with like-minded people. Because before I was very I guess a little bit away from the BeatStars community a little bit. I was just doing my thing on my own. And I just dived in and said, hey, I was a little bit nervous, but I said, you know what, I want to start just networking, not just collaborating, but just having conversations. And you learn from one another, and you realize we all in this together. Like we all trying to find a way to financial freedom or provide for our families or reach certain goals that we want to get to. And when you surround yourself around producers and songwriters, everybody like that, it just helps that momentum go up as compared to, you know, we have friends, and I've said this before, but they don't understand necessarily what music producers go through. You know, same thing with artists. They may have friends, but they don't know what artists go through personally in their goal because they're not a part of that. They're not always a part of that world. So you're completely right about surrounding yourself around people. I just wanted to say that for me personally, that was big for me.
Yeah, and I'll say also, like there's a few people in the chat here, like I'm gonna do some shout outs. Darrell Banks, Bluefo on the Beat, and Remedy Born Music. Those three guys, like they're friend, you know, followers, friends of mine, people that I've met through music. And I'm on IG and I see what they're doing. And even though like, you know, like I have whatever credits I have, or I'm doing what I'm doing, they're doing something else, like seeing them put in work actually motivates me to do my work. You know, it's like, and the more people I have like that around me, the easier it is to just stay focused to get it in, you know. So yeah, shout out to everybody that winds up in my feed. You know, like all of you have helped contribute to motivating me to do more work and to, you know, get stronger as a musician. So
So when each of you actually started making money from your music, I don't know how instantaneous it was. I know Cloud9, you've been doing it for a while, and I know
Mhm.
with you, Memory, when you quit your job, there was kind of a floodgate of fast opportunities to generate money right away. Luckily, just because I think a lot of people were waiting for you to go full time so that they could just flood you with more work. So when you first started making money from your music, what did you spend it on? We'll go from order of most
I'll let you
embarrassing to least
go.
embarrassing.
I'll let you go first, man. You're more the guest, in my opinion, right now. So
Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
for me,
because he knows me, I'm not
yeah,
shit, yeah.
oh, okay. So for me, when I when I started making a little bit of money, to be honest, I really didn't spend, because I mean I had my LLC in like 2009. But when I first got my money, I actually brought my LLC. That was like one of the first things I did, because I wanted to have a business. And during that time, um, for me, I was looking at things like Motown, Master P, Rick Ross. I want to have ownership over what I did, and started as a legit business, because I just knew that having that was important. So like the money I was making from maybe going in studios or selling beats on the side and stuff like that, I took that money and I invested it back in myself, and I purchased an LLC. I think, to be honest, that's my first biggest purchase. Not equipment, it was actually my LLC.
yeah. I For the most part, I just bought gear. So that was kind of the first thing I did is I started buying more pedals, a couple of different guitars, more plugins. Started buying sample packs actually because that's what I wanted to really get into. So I needed to study other artists that were making them and figure out like how do I make these myself. And but yeah, I also just spent a lot of money on bullshit, like just obviously food going out, like, you know, spent a lot on just driving around, and doing random shit, not really paying attention to like how much money I was spending. And um, but I also like I didn't I wasn't planning to really go full time, like the need came for me. So like it was like people needed me to do stuff. So I kind of shifted in that direction. I also just hated working a 9 to 5. So I have been like meandering and moseying my way into this sort of running my own business thing and being self-employed. So I mean, I don't regret like how things have gone, just because I always think that there's a potential to make more money, but um, I do have a lot of debt that has to get cleared up at some point. And if I don't focus on you know fixing that problem, it could get much worse in the future. And it's also something you don't want weighing over your head, especially if you have your regular bills and you're already trying to make ends meet, just to do the bare minimum. If you got a bunch of extra debt, that's
Yeah.
that can be really stressful. School is another thing. Like, so there was a weird point where I was still going to school, for my bachelor's, which is in anthropology. But and it's something I just decided I needed to do. So I was doing that, I was working, and I was doing music all at once. And this was literally like three years ago, where I just graduated then. And but like, so wasn't working enough really to cover all my bills. So the music money was kind of helping that. I was like, it was supplementing, so there was a lot of that too. And that also just made me not really focus on my spending as much, like I wasn't keeping track of my dollars. And just because I figured I was just too poor and it didn't matter, but every penny does matter, like you want to show that on paper too, because that's credit as well. It's like, if like reporting your income, if you don't report all that initial money, like I have people paying me money who have a 9 to 5, and they don't report all the income that they're spending on like my sample packs and things. That's like they should be reporting all that so that they get that on their taxes, because that's money they're spending toward their business. Like they're not making anything from that, and it's like, wow, that's all lost. So there's just, you just want to keep on top of your finances as much as possible, I think. And you gotta, sorry, I'm going on another tangent, but just like you have to be decisive about what you're going to do early on. Don't wait around to make your decision.
I mean, in all things in life, the fact that we know each other means that we know that the two of us went through that with music, for the longest time. I won't get into that. Bladed Knuckles wants to know, and this is one of those questions that ventures into the certified public accountant realm. So seriously, if it's one thing that I want everyone to walk away from this live with, aside from, pay attention to your finances and start taking them seriously, it's consult professionals when you have these questions. Because a lot of people have a ton of misconceptions about an LLC. Like, can you sell beats or run a business without an LLC? Yes, you can. And this question, for example, I feel like shows another misunderstanding about an LLC, which is that a DBA and an LLC are these two mutually exclusive categories. They're not. They really are kind of one and the same. But again, this is outside of my realm of knowledge, and so I would recommend you talking to your bank, because your bank accounts can have a DBA on them. Talking to a certified public accountant who can explain how to set up a DBA for your LLC. I had to set up a DBA because of my publishing checks. They were going to a publishing entity that I just made up when I signed up to ASCAP way back, and I couldn't cash them because I didn't have a bank account that said Jackson Wonderful Publishing on it. So I had to set up a DBA through my LLC, so they were connected. In your experience, Cloud9, what was the benefit of starting the LLC, and when do you think the right time to start one is?
For me, I guess I was one of those people that just wanted to be like, I guess, more safe than about doing business and stuff. So for me, I think I had made like, full transparency, I think I had made like, say that like 3,000, 4,000 or whatever. And that same year, I was like, okay, I think I need to do something. And that's when I ended up getting my LLC. The benefit of that was because I wanted to make sure that no matter what happens, I was able to deduct certain, to make deductions for business expenses and stuff like that. So I didn't have to pay a lot at the end of the year. And I had to learn all this stuff as I kind of went through everything. But I can honestly say maybe like fast forward a few things is that I actually went to talk to like a tax professional. I get my taxes done. I get my taxes done like at H&R Block or whatever. But the importance of this is because the first go around, y'all, it was rough. I was going up owing like a lot of money because I didn't know what deductions were. And I had to, that same year, I had to really learn like how to do all this stuff and read about it. And when I went there, I was given like a pamphlet to kind of read over the different deductions you can do as a business. And then I really applied that to what I did with music business. And it's one of those things where I'm glad we actually having this conversation, because back then I was on my own, right? And now they got places like BeatStars. You got CPAs, tax professionals now that's very into doing this. But for me, that's what it was. I made a certain amount of money, and I was like, okay, I need to get this LLC, and I just wanted one regardless, because I knew I was gonna get one eventually. So for me, it was, let me just go ahead and just do this now and just get this over with, so I could just proceed with what I need to proceed to. So I don't want to I want to leave room for memory. So that was my approach, and that was like my thinking process.
Well, hey, Memory, I'm sorry, I want to shift gears with you.
No, that's fine. Yeah.
Shay the God has asked this question: do I have to file my taxes if I don't have an LLC? A lot of people will ask that question: do I have to file taxes? Yes, if you're making money off of a business, you have to file taxes no matter what. The LLC doesn't stop you from doing business, and it doesn't stop you from being tax liable for your business income. That I know. However, I wanted to ask you, Memory. I'm going to put your business out there because a lot of people will say, "Well, I don't want to pay taxes. I'm going to evade taxes as much as I can. I'm going to stay below the
Yeah.
radar because I'm not making that much money." I got a story about you though, because you lost out on thousands of dollars because of that, because you made that mistake by flying under the radar, and it was when the PPP loans came out. In order to take
Right.
advantage of the business loans, you need a tax history. So if you skip a year,
Yep.
or if you're like you, where you're like, well, I'm just going to make up for it, I'm going to pay late, you screwed yourself because you can't get that money because you can't prove to the government how much you were making so that they could have sent you a check for, 2,000, 3,000, whatever it was, and that money would have helped. So you
Well,
you spoke on this before, I think, on our last session.
yeah, but that was prior to me well, I had a tax history, but it was prior to me filing for self-employed. So I don't know exactly how it went, but yeah, I couldn't get them. I mean, regardless, I might have been able to if I did claim the money I had made, like along with my 9 to 5, which is a mistake that I made back then. I just, oh, there's extra cash. There's cash coming in. Oh, this PayPal card I got. Look at this. I could do whatever I want with it. No, no, they even, but it's because like I wasn't educated in it in the sense that there was a myth about like, oh, if it's under $9,000, PayPal won't report it, so you don't have to worry about it.
Mhm.
That's what I heard. And so I just went with that because all I want to hear is I don't want to have to give anybody else any money, especially the government. So I'm going to just fly with that and not research it and play dumb. But hey, I missed out on, quite a few $1,000s on those loans. And something like that could happen again too. Just,
And
where,
I want to chime in too on that too. To anyone that's making money on PayPal, make sure that y'all go look into this. So maybe you can actually call PayPal too, or send them a message about this. But I know this for sure though, if you make over $20,000 a year on PayPal, you're gonna get something from the IRS back that's gonna go to PayPal, and it's gonna be like a PDF form that you download, and on that is gonna be, hey, we report. It's gonna be email saying we report this to the IRS, and this is how much you made for the year. So if you make over $20,000, the IRS is gonna know that you made it. That's just a heads up to anyone. And now what they're trying to do is, if you make anything in PayPal, they're trying to regulate that where they're still gonna report it to the IRS. So to anyone listening, it's not to scare y'all. I really I can't say this enough. I'm very appreciative of BeatStars and Pain and memory of us doing this, because we're not here to scare y'all. We're here to save y'all time. And time is very valuable. You can't get that back. So what we're trying to do is fulfill y'all with that type of pop empowerment. But this is important. So, just follow up on PayPal to see about that. Because if you're making like 6,000, or if you at 19, they still may report that. And if they report it, you got to pay something on it. There's no workaround with that. And for anyone that is making a certain amount of money and they're trying to get a loan, PayPal actually has like I think it's like a capital work and pay loan. So they don't look at your credit history. They don't look at none of that. What they look at is how much you're making. I've done this like several times because I make a certain amount of money. I actually got those loans just to check out how it goes, and it was good. I paid it off. It went well because it's based on the percentages of your sales. So everything is a lot easier than maybe going to a bank. But I just wanted to put that out as a resource, because I know a lot of times people are always talking about like, man, I wish I can get a loan, but I can't get one. This might be an alternative way of doing that. Now, and I'm not getting paid by PayPal to say this. This is about having a real conversation. So I actually had to do this one time because I wanted to, I had to purchase another laptop. So I made a certain amount of money. I got like $4,000 for PayPal. I was able to get a new Mac. And the money I made from the percentage of sales I got from my beats fulfilled that loan over time. So that's why I just want to drop that gem to anyone that might be listening to this. But I didn't want to stop what you were saying, but I just wanted to make sure I said it before I forgot.
And then also Grantastic brought up, the whole PayPal processing fee. And it's not just something that's a part of PayPal. Like BeatStars doesn't have this but payment processors do. Stripe, PayPal, they take a percentage. That's a processing fee. That's totally separate from taxes.
Right.
So there are some people that look at, maybe they make a sale and it's $50. That $50 isn't really $50
Right.
because if it's through Stripe or if it's through PayPal, they're taking their fee. And then that's taxable income.
Yes.
So no one is going to keep track of this stuff for you other than yourself. This is the part, again, I'm going to say it like Cloud9 said, I'm not here to scare you. I'm here to help you protect yourself because, no one is going to account for you. No one is going to tell you how much money you have. No one's going to tell you how much you're spending versus how much you're making. And no one's going to tell you what your tax liability is. The only person that can make that happen is you. You're responsible for that. If at any moment you realize that you haven't been taking responsibility for that, it's just is what it is. You have to deal with the consequences. So, and then Vivid J wants to know if PayPal automatically takes out they take it per transition. Per transaction. Every time you sell through PayPal, they take the fee off top. So you don't have to calculate that yourself, but you should be aware of it so that you think you can at least estimate, your finances versus your expenses.
Right.
This is not a question for me because the three of us are not BeatStars staff, but BeatStars always comes up with solutions. I'm confident that they're going to come up with some pretty amazing payment solutions. And then G Life says, yeah, at the same time, BeatStars is a write-off, DistroKid is a write-off. That's another thing.
Yes. All that is
Great to talk to a accountant about that and just keep track of what your expenses are. In addition to your income, what are you bringing in? What are you spending on your business? You need BeatStars to sell beats. So yeah, do you think I'm writing off my yearly Pro Page account subscription? Yes. Of course I am.
All your Facebook ads, any ads that you take out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly what everyone else uses for bookkeeping. But there's programs like QuickBooks that can help y'all with that if you're interested in learning how to manage your business expenses. I use a service called, once again, I don't get paid for any of this. I use a service called GoDaddy Bookkeeping, and how it works is, long story short, you can connect certain things to have different functions. So if I buy something with my business card, like a laptop, it will go to the program, to the software, and it will literally assign it as equipment. Same thing if I buy like supplies or anything like that. It'll go to that software as wherever it needs to go, like business use of home, anything like that. So at the end of the year or every month, you can run a report and you can literally see all the expenses that you've done. That's what I've used. Like I know how to do bookkeeping by hand. I actually was taught that when I went to see a tax professional, because I had to learn how to get it out the mud for real, y'all. So it was that, and I was like, I need to find some type of software. And then I realized QuickBooks was good, and then GoDaddy Bookkeeping. But that's what I kind of use. It automates everything. It's a little clunks every now and then, but you can go in and change whatever you need to change, and you can run a report literally to see where everything is going, as far as like your expenses and how much you spent that month with everything. Or you could just make an Excel sheet and you could do it that way too.
Yeah, I just go on, because all of my money comes through PayPal. So I just run reports on there. But if I did use something like QuickBooks, I think it would be a little bit easier, just because, you're kind of automating that process instead of having to like search for every specific purchase that you made that wasn't like of the the average purchase or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
So I want to switch gears and ask you a question, Memory, because you brought this up, and I'm glad you're ready to speak on this. You weren't ready to speak on it the last time we had a conversation here live. Everyone has a different path. Some beat makers are doing well with industry placements. Some are doing well leasing beats. There's an ongoing conversation about payment schedules from the labels. And in addition, I happen to think, and I said this, Dame actually, my partner in MEC disagreed with me. I'm standing on this because I've experienced this until someone can really convince me otherwise. But I think major labels use policies and new payment portals and tax forms and all of this, all these extra financial hurdles that prevent you from getting paid right away. Because it's happened to me. It's like, oh, well, do you have a bank account? A lot of people don't have bank accounts. I do. Do you have EIN? Do you have? Can you fill out this tax form without getting confused? Can you? So you have to jump through hoops. Can you register this to this payment portal? So now you need all of this knowledge just to get signed up, so that the label can pay you for work you already did. Right. So I think labels make it more difficult for people to get paid, especially if they're not financially literate. And a lot of us, I'm just going to say, as creatives, we're not financially literate. It's kind of a stereotype because we're just out there making music and making art and not thinking about the business. But I think to an extent it's true. What's been your experience with that? I know you have some horror stories. You can pick one, two, whatever, whichever one you want to talk about.
Well, the worst is the most ironic, I guess, or just so, because it was the lowest amount of money you could possibly be getting for a placement, and have them like put you through the ringer just for absolutely no reason. So, or what seems like no reason. We recently had a placement with Duke Deuce, and the record was called Falling Off. And
featuring Rigo Nasty, was super dope.
Yeah, really great song. It turned out pretty good. And yeah, so it was a small deal. It was only, he's a smaller artist. He's growing, but for this record, it was like, I think it was like a total of 2K or something like that, 2,000 advance, and then publishing, and that was split between 3 producers. And it was a sample that was on one of my packs along with Dream Life. Yeah, so the way we split it was like Dream Life and I took, split half, and the other half went to Ricky Devine, who was the main producer who got the placement in the first place. But so when they sent us the contracts and everything, we were looking it over, and it was just a mess. We had our lawyer look at it. We needed to fix a bunch of stuff, and we went back and forth for over a year. And so they had placed the song, they were performing it live. It had been on YouTube, but it hadn't been released yet. But every time we'd send the contract back, we'd get it back with something like that wasn't right. And it's like, well, we told you to fix these things. And so we'd send it back. They'd send us another one. Something else would be wrong. We'd go back and forth like that. And then for a year that happened. And then finally we were getting toward the end. It's like, okay, the contract is finally good. Let's just sign it. Okay, we signed it. And this was through Capitol Records. And so like the piece that I was getting off the advance was like $300, $400, something like that. The lowest I've ever gotten for an advance or for a placement. And like, they said, okay, well, you have to register to our online portal. So I went on their portal and I had to fill out all this information. I filled out prior to that, I filled everything out because I was given actual like PDFs that I had to sign, like e-sign type shit. So I signed all these things. I sent it back to, this is so hard to explain because it's so confusing, but so Alien Music was the independent label, or the label that was under Capitol Records. That was basically, they had the artist, they had Duke Deuce. So I was working with Alien Music, and they were the ones that sent me all these PDFs that I had to sign with the contract and everything, and give them all my information. I had to take a snapshot of my PayPal. I had to give them my driver's license, my bank account number. They just took everything from me. And then And then come to find out, now Capitol Records wants all of the same exact information, but they want me to do it on their vendor portal. So I had to go on there. I had to refill out all the information. And then they wouldn't accept at first they wouldn't accept my bank account because they said it wasn't a trusted bank. Because I just use a Green Dot card, which is the Green Dot network. It's Green Dot Bank. It's a real bank that exists. It's known by many, many people. It's just an online bank. It's not like a physical bank. They wouldn't accept that. Then they told me they wouldn't accept my PayPal, even though I had given them a snapshot of my actual account. And it's actually one of the options that they have, that you can select PayPal as your payment method. So then, the system's broken. So then they had to contact someone else to fix the system. This just went on forever, like just going back and forth with them. It was email after email. And even after everything was signed, it still took another 2 months for all of these things to get fixed so that I could finally be paid out. But they literally for the whole year, they kept us in the dark about the whole thing until the week before the song dropped. And when the song finally dropped, that's when they started actually moving on it. So it was a waste of our time almost to even like be talking to them, about this whole situation until the song was ready to finally be dropped. So, but we were sending them like, hey, you guys are performing this live. That's royalties, like that's money, that's YouTube money. And if you can't register, and check this out. So Payne, we were talking about Song Trust and registering YouTube videos, right? Which I had to go through and make sure that all these videos for other placements were like being picked up so I could get that change. And it's like, if you don't have the percentages on Song Trust of all the people that are on the record, if you can't get that, then you can't register it. So in other cases, like if you don't have a contract yet, you don't know who's on the record, who's a part of it and everything, you might not be able to even get it registered. So then you can make sure that the YouTube money is getting picked up. And like Payne has told me, that money can disappear over a period of time. So
yeah, and then the thing is, if they never move on it and you never get the money, they don't care. It's not like they have no consequences. But for somebody who needs to pay their bills with money for music, this has pretty serious consequences. You might not eat that month. So Cloud9, switching gears to a question that a user sent you, and I don't know who sent you these questions, but there was an ongoing conversation on Twitter, I believe. What, in your opinion, is the best thing that a producer can invest in with the money that they're generating off of selling beats on BeatStars?
For me, this is going to be something that I feel that some producers may not. I haven't seen too many producers say, but for me, it's education. I've learned personally that, for me equipment, none of that stuff helped me in my journey. Like I've gotten 10K sync placements from using Logic stock sounds, but the education that I learned how to make the stuff is what helped me. So if for the people that follow me on social media, the one things I always talk about is that knowledge and wisdom is power. You can have all the fancy stuff in the world, but if you don't have an educational component to learn how to do these things, then none of it matters. It just don't. And I think sometimes that with artists and just people, sometimes with people in general, we buy these things, but we don't necessarily look at, okay, now I got to learn it, but I don't know where to go, or I don't know how to learn it. So like for me, I would probably say, like, if you trying to invest in learning something, write down the things you want to learn. Go look at, or you can go look it up on YouTube for free, right? But for me, I wanted something a little bit more constructed sometimes that I really couldn't always get off of YouTube sometimes at that. So the first thing I would say is go look at YouTube, get educated before you make a purchase. Because one of the things about purchases is, if you're thinking about buying something, wait 48 hours to buy it. See how you feel. That's a legit psychological tip. if you see something that you really want, wait 48 hours, think about it, go over it in your head, come back, and if you still want it, then maybe it is. But also look at the value prospect, right? Is this going to bring me value in my production? Period. Because half the times the DAWs that we have already have those sounds in it. Like I know people who use stock sounds in Logic, and they've done stuff for, and they've gotten 5K, 7K working on indie films or short films. So, you know, learn how to do these things first before you make these purchases. Because that's how I saved a lot of money. I saved a whole lot of money because I started researching on how to do certain things. And there are softwares that after I made evaluations, okay, I should get this, I should buy this. But if it doesn't contribute to my business or me progressing as a human and all, that's just not for me. But I always say that education is power. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I invest my money in.
Yeah, and then let me ask you a follow up, and I want Memory to answer. Secondly, what would you consider your worst or biggest financial mistake in the music business so far?
Oh, that's a good one. What was my worst financial mistake? Dang, that's a good one. I haven't had too many like crazy mistakes. Probably maybe the first one was when I first went to H&R Block and I didn't have no deductions. I was going to paying like almost like $13,000 or something like that. So I think that might have been the worst one, but we was able to correct it. We was able to correct it. It was able to be fixed.
How did
So
you correct that? I'm just curious. So you went to H&R Block. You hadn't itemized any of the money that you spent on your career, on your business that year.
So what happened was, okay, so it wasn't I had a, you know how they got the deadline to file taxes, right? So I went in without, I had all the receipts of everything I had did. I just didn't know how to do stuff. So I had to kind of backtrack a little bit in order to accomplish this. So it was like grab any receipts. It's I had to learn how to do bookkeeping basically. So I had to go back and find all the things that I had spent money on or that I did. I didn't even print out my PayPal, like all the stuff like your PayPal fees, the courses that I spent money on. I just didn't know what to do. And once they told me like, hey, you can deduct these courses. Did you know you could deduct business use of home? Did you know you can deduct mileage? Did you know you can deduct equipment? Did you know software memberships like BeatStars and stuff like that? And I had a lot of stuff that I had spent money on. I just didn't know how deductions worked. So I had to literally go back and backtrack, and I was stressed. I ain't gonna lie. But once I was able to compile all this stuff together, it made things a lot easier. So that was kind of like one way. I still had to pay like a little bit back, but it wasn't like no 13,000 though.
All right. So Memory, what's your big financial mistake?
I mean, I don't really know what would be the worst mistake. I would say that not having a savings account early on was probably the worst mistake, because by not having a place to put money you don't touch, you end up kind of just spending it however you want. And I think it's something that, you know, if you really want, especially if like you're first starting out and you don't have a lot of money, like last time we were talking, I said something like, you know, you want 10,000 in the bank if you're going to like leave your job and just, you know, try and do this full time. At least you got to have something. So I'd say you want 10,000 in the bank all the time. Like, you know, just as a buffer to know like you're safe, because like anything can go wrong. Like, you know, like you can have a bad, like, especially depending on how many streams of income you have. Like if you only have one or two and, you know, you have a bad month or a few bad months in a row, like you need something to be able to buffer you from that, you know, and not, you know, you don't want to worry while you're trying to also be creative at the same time and keep moving forward, you know? So I think that that's something just, not carving out that having a safe place to store money is one of the worst mistakes that I've made in the past. So.
All right. So we've got 5 minutes left. Let's. This is a big question, but you just brought it up, which is the dangers of relying on a single income stream. Because you're right. If you have a bad month, if you're just relying on, say, I don't know, YouTube influencer revenue because you make beat tutorials, and YouTube changes the algorithm, suddenly your views drop. Suddenly the companies that were paying you, $2,000 to $3,000 a month pull out, or they start cutting their offers in half. What do you do? It's like losing your job. Suddenly all your income is in jeopardy. So I'd like you to both talk about what, multiple income versus single income stream business models entail for the two of you, and then what the ways producers can diversify and escape these potentially dangerous patterns.
Okay. So for me right now, to be honest, my main this is how I kind of break it down for me. It's I have a built-in client base that buy exclusive rights, leasing beats. I have my music in stock libraries, and I'm only listing. I have other ones, but these are ones that bring in major cash. Sync placements, and the fifth one is I actually write. So this is not my biggest one, but it's like my fifth low, like probably the last one that makes a couple of hundreds. Is that I also like to blog. So I kind of get paid for blog. Well, I get royalties from blogging. So that's something that's just a personal love that I like doing. But those are my five. But I actually know, like, I wrote a Twitter thread on 44 ways you can make money on BeatStars. Like, I know a lot of ways of making money, but I gotta look at my time and what I can possibly do with that. So that's kind of like my forms of income right now. So, and if one fails, the other one is guaranteed. Like, I just have it set up to where, like, if one fails, I'll still be okay for that month, because I have a very big catalog of beats. Some of it is not even on BeatStars, and they're just in different libraries.
Yeah, for me, sample packs and session guitar are my two main. So, and I've been fortunate that sample packs were really the main thing, but session guitar has picked up a lot, to the point where now that's like kept me, pretty much afloat. And then I do have a beat catalog, but this is one of the stream of incomes I want to work on more, is to get my beat catalog basically out there, more visible. So working on more social media and more targeted ads in order to get people coming to my store. And then I'm doing video and photography stuff, actually locally for, a friend of Payne's and mine, goes by Shah, but he owns a fight gym, and I've been doing a lot of video for him. And then, yeah, that's pretty much my main thing. But yeah, I don't know what the fifth stream would be. But I do know one that I'm interested in, that I learned about, or I've known about, but want to start using, is Fiverr, because as a session guitarist, I can make a killing on there. The only reason I hadn't done it in the past is just because, like, it's definitely something that can be time consuming, because that's going back to the, like, sort of 9 to 5 thing. Like, you're going to, have to do work, like, continuously every day. And if you got other projects that you're working on, it might be a little bit stressful. So, like you were saying, Cloud9, it has to do with time. Like, what can you balance? Sample packs take up the majority of my time. I'm always working on them. So it's hard to get the other stuff in there. So, but there's definitely importance to having multiple streams of income, because those two things can sometimes fluctuate. And then it's like, oh, this is going to be a tight month, and I want to have that. want to have that passive income. Really, is what I want, and that's where the beats come in. Because if my beat store is popping, I can make beats on my own time. But the fact that I have 100 in my catalog already, those can be out there, being leased, while I'm not doing anything or while I'm doing other stuff. So.
So speaking of all of those things that everyone of you is involved in, it's a good time for. It's also 3 o'clock. It's a good time for you to shout out your websites and social media. So if people are interested in session guitar or writing or whatever services you offer, they can connect with you. So Cloud9 then Memory. Let us know how people can find you and connect.
Yeah. So it's KloudNineMusic everywhere. It's the same as what the ad is on my picture. Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, I drop a lot of gems. YouTube, I got some really good content coming towards the end of this year. So make sure you follow me on there, cloud9music.com or knm.world. You can find everything you need on there. So thank y'all for doing this again, Payne. I hope we do another one like this at some point.
Yeah, I mean, I still have about half of the questions here unanswered. So let's have another financial literacy roundtable. And ideally, I would love to have a CPA on here too.
Yeah.
So if anyone knows of one that is on the internet and is on social media, please refer them to me. All right. So how do people connect with you?
Memory 608. That's Instagram and Twitter. And otherwise memory608@gmail.com. Yeah, you can get a hold of me. We can talk. If you're looking for sessions or you want to know more about sample packs and how those work if you haven't ever used one or are just like interested in some samples. So.
And Rich Daly does want to know about the sample pack you shouted out again. What was the name of it?
Reminiscence. Yeah, that. I don't know. It's one of my favorite packs so far. So.
How does he find it if you wanted to get it?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Go to thesamplelab.com, and you can search for me by name if you want. But otherwise, you can search for just that pack. But all of my packs are on there. So search by and actually, if you hit my IG, I have a link to all my packs because I got a tree link or whatever. So you can, go there and follow me. I'll follow you back. And then you can just hit up everything that way.
Oh, that was a sneaky way to get followers. All right. Hey, shout out to all the people that are getting it. I mean, I have it. It's amazing. I use it. I'm going to continue using it. Shout out to everyone that tuned in. Next week, I'll be back. Yeah. Same time, same place with the MEC right here on BeatStars Live. Thank you, Cloud9. Thank you, Memory. And thank you to everyone in the chat. You're going to see all of us on here again shortly. So don't worry, we'll make the announcement. That's the beautiful thing about these guests. They're very active on social media. So if you don't hear it from me, you'll hear it from them. Have a great weekend, everyone. If you celebrate the holiday, have a great time with family and friends and enjoy. Peace, everyone.